work and play. Our major concern is making sure that there's butts in the seats on the train, and going both ways, and supporting the other transit, the bus routes that feed this area. And we want to have interest in the area 24/7. We don't want to just have something that empties out in the morning and people come back at night. So, but we also want to be realistic about it, and we want to be cognizant of the surrounding properties and their vision for the area. So, you know, ideas of density and appropriate design are things that are pretty important to us. On our site specifically, we're not actively looking at developing this area, although that could be on the table at some point. If we were to develop this site, we'd have to maintain a good majority, maybe not all of the transit stalls, but we'd have to maintain adequate parking so that there wasn't spillover and that we're meeting projected demand.
So you own some stuff that you haven't paved over?
No, it's basically the parking lot is our property. That's really it.
So you're so you're saying if you were going to develop anything, it would be on the parking lot. You'd have to kind of take an out parcel and maybe put a hamburger stand there or a convenience store or something, but it would be kind of on the out. You'd still have to maintain your parking ratios.
So this, I don't believe we used FTA money on this, so that uncomplicates it a little bit. But we have to maintain adequate parking to reach. We do 2040 projections. So we could potentially take parking away from here as long as we could find it in other areas, but we try and maintain the same level of parking that we have today, unless there was a really good reason not to.
Okay.
Turn it over to Adam. He can give you a little bit more on what the city's vision for this area is.
I'm Adam Olson. I work in the city's planning office. When we learned that this area was going to be the stop for the front runner, we looked at our land use plan and decided that we needed to have some kind of a transit-oriented development land use category. And so we took our plan and did kind of a circle area around this, realizing that, you know, the boundaries can ebb and flow, but that would be kind of the heart of where our transit-oriented development would go. So we have a couple things that complicate matters. It's just basically to the west of us, probably where that garage is. The cars are facing towards the garage. I would imagine right about there. That's about where the future alignment is for the Vineyard Connector, which will have to rise quite high over the tracks, drop down again, connect to Pioneer Crossing, and then on our transportation plan we have the road just north of where Vineyard Connector ends. That, I believe, is what we call our 1020 West. That will go up and over I-15 and connect into the Meadows shopping area. And so any kind of development in this area needs to take that connection, eventual connection, into consideration.
I'm sorry, what's the connector?
The Vineyard Connector?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's the road, right?
Originally it was to be built before I-15 reconstruction happened. It was to be a parallel to I-15. But basically it will go from Pioneer Crossing. It will kind of parallel the power lines that you see down to the south, run in a southeasterly direction, and end up at the site of the former Geneva Steel. And it will hook into Orem's 800 North. So it's kind of I guess you could call it a bypass for this area. And then there will be spurs that go west into Lehigh, but that isn't part of the Vineyard Connector. So we look at that, this connection to the Meadows shopping area, which is just beyond, it's just kind of basically straight north of where we are over the freeway. We see that as there being some kind of connection between this area and then the Meadows. And just on the north side of that shopping area is the existing, there's existing railroad tracks that UTA now has the right-of-way for, and that will be the future tracks extension into Utah County. So you've got Front Runner here, then you've got the freeway, and then you've got tracks basically on the north side. And so there's got to be some kind of synergy between those, how you can get from tracks to Front Runner and vice versa.
This connection you mentioned, it's a road, is it also pedestrian and bicycle, or?
Yeah, we are undergoing a pedestrian and bicycle master plan right now, and that is in our plans to have some kind of bicycle facility over that overpass, eventual overpass. And I don't know if you're familiar with MAG, it's the Mountain Land Association of Governments. They've got in their next 10-year plan to fund the overpass over the freeway to make that connection. So the funding study, or funding for that study is in their next 10-year horizon.
How far east is that for the tracks?
That will go, the track spur basically parallels State Street, it goes into Pleasant Grove, and then curves south and goes into Linden, and it ends about where the old Geneva Steel used to be as well. But it also goes, there will be the tracks line that goes right by Cabela's and Adobe, and go over the point of the mountain into Draper. So that is, and there's no timeline for that. UTA doesn't have any kind of timeline for when tracks will happen, but we're already planning for it. Also, what I've so for this area, for our TOD area, we've had some developers come and initially and say, well, we want to just do some high density housing. The train's there, and luckily none of this is in the city yet. It's still all in Utah County, and the county would allow development at 1 unit per 5 acres. The county isn't involved in urban type development. So luckily, I can say that's an advantage that we have. We want to make sure this is done right. And so we've kind of told people that have come to us, we're just in the initial stages of a study, and then that will kind of help guide where development and what types of development go where. Because we don't envision this area as just a high-density housing hub. We also would like to see a mix of commercial and office uses. So we want to see people that ride the train to here, not just live here, ride the train and go north and south. So this also needs to be an area that brings people in, and so that's what we're hoping this study will help us realize. I brought some copies of our land use and transportation master plans that show some of these connections for anyone that might be interested. And then also, I was hoping she could come tonight. One of the Orem City Council women, her name is Mary Street. She's also heavily involved in real estate. She works for Commerce, I believe CRG, I believe is what it's called. And so she had sent me some questions that she would ask everyone to consider, and I've made copies of those, so I'm happy to hand those out too. So if you have any questions on what the city's vision for the area is, I'm happy to answer that if I haven't done so.
1 acre, or excuse me, 1 unit per 5 acres doesn't sound very. I mean, when you say dense, I'm thinking.
No, that's the county. That's what the county would allow right now.
So somebody's going to buy it and have to entitle it or rezone it if they want to do.
They'll have to annex it in.
What's the time frame of that? Has anyone started the process of annexing land over?
I believe these landowners just directly south of us. Is that the Williamsons?
That's
Okay, you are, yes. They at one time had started an annexation process, and then when this kind of all happened, it's just kind of been on hold.
Hold off.
So, yeah.
Does American Fork have like a TOD zoning? Are you guys developing?
We don't have a TOD zone. We're hoping that what this study does is give us guidance for creating not only a vision for this area, but an accompanying zoning document.
Future zoning.
So one of the things that we're working on outside of this is we're doing some stationary planning activity. We're partnering with the city to sort of get that ball rolling on what's the appropriate kinds of land uses and what's the appropriate density and those sorts of questions. So some ideas on the best kind of zoning and entitlement processes.
How many neighbors are there adjacent to the property? How many neighboring owners, rather, and parcels as
man,
well?
I have to
Since
look
I
at a
understand
parcel
those
map.
may overlap.
There's quite a few. There's not one particular single large landowner here. There's quite a few, I guess you'd call them medium-sized landowners.
Can you give an average acreage size, perhaps?
Of the parcels around here, I would say an average acreage is probably close to 5
Okay. And how many landowners would you estimate
that surround the station itself, or just in this general area.
that surround the property itself?
At least 4.
So these, Connie and Eric are some of the adjacent landowners. They've come by to kind of share with us their story and what they want to see happen, and also what they don't want to see happen. They're going to share with us their contact information. I'll get it to you guys, and they're willing to kind of participate in the project. And I guess you could probably contact Mary Street as well. So these are going to be our kind of our allies and resources. Is going to be Adam, Richard, Connie, and Eric, and probably Mary Street as far as I think the 4 sources for what you guys look for.
That's why we're here, is Mary was meeting with us yesterday on some other properties. We've dealt with her a lot. She's an outstanding person. What our concerns are is we'd like to turn this into a true transit-oriented development where we had business, we had housing, we had some type of a cultural center. American Fork doesn't really have anything to support the arts of any sort. And it's like they're saying, to be able to get off the train, eat dinner, go to your house, and basically not have to leave this area. And our biggest concern is we don't end up with that over there.
So
And
that's
that's,
kind of
that is a halfway house for, it's terrible. It's a rent by the week hotel that all night long you hear the fire department and the ambulance going there picking up people. And our fear is that's what was approved one time. We don't want to see it happen again here, because then it will just completely kill this area like it did there.
That's just scared away anyone
Yeah.
that would want to do it.
Yeah, that could be the worst piece of real estate in American Fork, in my
We're
opinion.
not proud of that.
And in Adam's defense,
before Adam.
I've met him 1 or 2 times, but it's a changing of the guard. The man that he's replacing, and I hate to speak ill of the dead, his first words were always no. They didn't do it that way. We're not, and he didn't live in the city, and it was like he tried. How would you put it? He did everything he could to stop progress in American Fork. And when you guys leave, if you go drive around the roads in American Fork, you'll see what's happened. It's time for the city to do something good and get infrastructure and do something really nice and make this a place where people want to come, not where people want to avoid. You know, and that's our fear, is they're going to turn this into something that somebody gets here, and then they're doing as much as they can to leave.
so you're planning on staying in your place over here?
Oh no,
So you're going to sell your land and head to St. George or somewhere?
we're selling. When you say 5 acres, that seems like, you know, crazy density. To us, that was our little slice of heaven. We bought this place when we were in our 20s, had 2 mortgages and could barely pay for it for the acreage. And some of the backstory is my wife grew up with the BMW dealership is here in Pleasant Grove. The I-15 split the farm, the original I-15. When they put that intersection, it dissected it. So they 1031'd all the money and came down here, and I got my mother and father-in-law for neighbors, which is a special treat. So.
But we thought that we would retire and be here forever. And it's rough because we live on a country road and the traffic is horrendous. The buses are horrendous and our roads aren't set up for it. There's no curb and gutter.
There's no lighting. When it gets dark here in the wintertime, and you have people walking up and down this road, it's amazing that somebody hasn't been killed.
So we're excited. We're happy that you guys are willing to do this and get a bigger vision. I think for my parents, it would give them some peace. My dad will be 89 this year and still going strong, still farming. We still farm a few hundred acres. And my brother still currently farms. He lives in the house just on the other side of that Ponza hut. And my son lives in the house in the White Lodge. So this is what I call home. I've always lived in American Fork City. And I would love to see this really be thriving and someplace that is a wonderful place to be. We'd like to be proud of it. I don't want to be sad when I drive by. I want it to be something that's beautiful.
So I guess this question, so American Fork doesn't have a downtown, like a there, and you want to have a there.
We
right?
do have a downtown, but it's
So
the question is
do you think
there
that
a
more
there?
is more energy going to flow to something new, or is it going to be to kind of the building and revitalizing what is there?
You know, and I don't know why you couldn't have both. The downtown is its own unique area that, I mean, it's definitely different from what this would be. And so we would see this as kind of the other center of America.
If you guys drive around on a Friday night or a Saturday night, come down here and try to get into Chili's or try to get into Olive Garden or try to get into Texas Roadhouse, try to find a seat. I mean, this place will support anything, and there is enough money around here that it would support high-end restaurants and things like that. I think that you've got a wonderful palette here to work with, that you could really do something something special. And there's been some high-end developments that people thought weren't going to go very well up by the golf course. Robinsons did twin homes up there, and they were $650,000 a side, and they sold out.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, and it was on, and I think that there's a move for people that want to move. I call it a lateral move. They want to have a nice place to live. Their house has gotten too big for them, so they want to have something with granite countertops and 9-foot ceilings and crown molding and everything, and they're willing to pay for it. And that's what I'd like to see come here, is some nice places for. It's like her parents. We'd like to get them in a nice place.
I have a question for American Ford. Sorry, right. You want to go first?
You go first.
I'm going to front. Okay, just about infrastructure. Some comments were made about the lack of lighting and things, but I assume there's a sewer district that operates in the area and maybe even a water district. I don't know if American Fork has their own water, but has anybody looked at the capacity or how far offsite improvements would have to be to sustain high density?
And that's something that our engineers looked at, and they're still looking at that. There is a sewer line in this street right in front of us. The size, I can't say for sure what the size is. There's also some larger sewer lines just to the south of us that kind of run out west towards Saratoga Springs. They're just quite large lines, and that.
There's a big trunk line that they're just finishing.
Yeah, is that
about 100 yards? The sewer ends up at those houses up there, and doesn't start again until the road.
And where's the treatment plant? Is it?
Treatment plant is directly that way. That's where this major trunk line that they're putting in.
Is that what that is?
Ties to.
So could we pull off here, up through here?
I'm sure that you could. They've set manholes and everything along the way.
But that is a good question. I mean, upsizing will have to occur. How much? Yeah. How far upstream is it going to have to occur as well?
Do you know how deep the sewers are?
This one out here, clear out in the field out there, they're running at about 12 feet right now. So we're up literally 20 or 30 feet higher. The biggest thing you aren't going to be able to do here is put basements. That's going to be your issue, because you're going to hit groundwater at 4 to 5 feet. Okay. And that could be some of the headache of building down here is your soil studies and stuff to see what this ground will actually support.
Any other questions or comments?
My question is for you. What are our target objectives here? Like, what would you like to see from us for everybody here? For American Fork, for the
highest and best use. I'm also thinking creative. You don't have to use all the ground. You can use some of it, and then have some of it be kind of maybe like a 10-year plan, and here's kind of what we see happening in 24 to 36 months.
Okay.
Here's the 5-year and the 10-year mark.
Okay.
Kind of natural evolution. So it could be something as small as an In-N-Out burger, or something as big as a assisted living facility with some other kind of natural kind of byproducts of those.
Okay.
If you just did a hamburger stand, you're not going to probably get an A.
Yeah, the In-N-Outs is right there.
5 Guys or whatever.
We already got one of those too.
And if you turn it in, I'm just going to tell you guys, last year somebody turned theirs in with kind of the edges all folded over on the top corner.
For a staple.
Yeah,
I use
that's
that
a definite B.
Yeah.
I might get one of those. I'm not going to tell you who did it, but this is your master's thesis, effectively. So kind of look at it that way. We're going to have people from UTA. We're going to have Adam. We're going to have Eric and Connie, and you can bring your parents if you'd like. On July 30th, it's going to be the final presentation. Everybody's not going to be able to present at the final, so as we go along, we're going to kind of have, we're going to have to vote or draw straws or something to see who presents. But everybody's interested in kind of what you find, and it could lead to things down the road. So I think it's a great opportunity. Question?
I have a question for the city. Adam, is there any incentives, redevelopment? This doesn't really look like a redevelopment area, but is there any incentives for the city for development, or?
Not for this area, not currently. We've got some areas that have developed in the last 10 or 15 years that are part of an EDA, and we have a few RDAs in the city. If that was something that was formed out here, then perhaps that could be looked at, but right now we don't have anything here.
If we were to develop our property, that would be something specifically to potentially handle the cost of structure park to a city.
Does the city or UTA have any access to reports, i.e. soils or geotech reports that could be provided to us to help us understand what we're dealing with out here?
Yeah, we might. Get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with our engineers.
Traffic studies?
There's been different studies, traffic studies and soils reports through the area for various things in the past that might be good to look at.
Yeah, just to give us a baseline of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Adam, why don't you just tell everybody right now your email address and your telephone number?
I brought a couple cards. I didn't know how many people would be here, but my email is aolsen, so that's AOLSEN, @afcity.net. And the phone number that I can be reached at is 801-763-3060. Just ask for me.
Richard, I'll send Richard and Jen McGrath's contact information tomorrow morning. They're with UTA. And then Eric, do you want to share your email address?
Yeah, the best one to get a hold of us at would be ac@acexcavation.com.
I trust him on the sewer depths now.
Yeah.
And the groundwater.
Give me a call, 801-420-3081.
What was the last four again?
3081.
3081.
You've mentioned kind of a multicultural center, in your estimation, what's the history of American Fork and what do you think would be lacking for it?
Well, we have a band in American Fork that marches in the Rose Parade and things like that. It's a very strong community when it comes to all of that, and they just don't have a venue for it. We have the old amphitheater up at the training school.
American Fork has quite a strong arts council and arts presence, but he's right. There is really no real venue. I mean, they rent auditoriums from the school district. In the summer, there's the amphitheater up at the state training school. It's a really great setting, but again, it can only be used in the summer. So, and in the winter, they just kind of have something worked out with the school district for the junior high. They use their auditorium. So.
And really, if you had something that was significant here, it could be the hub basically of Utah County, because there's not.
We've got great transportation here.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think the community would support it.
Any other questions, anybody?
So UTA is basically just keeping tabs on what's going on.
Yeah.
And then collaborating on, okay, how are we going to develop this further?
Right. We realize we're only one landowner in the area. To really make a TOD work, to really have activity, you've got to go beyond one parcel. And we want to partner with communities to help them realize their vision. We've put a tremendous investment in the area, and we want to see that investment work as much as possible.
Is there more investment?
So there's a study looking at future tracks to very interior. But I think if there's anything else currently on the table that would come into this area, I think that's probably the biggest one. But there's not a ton. I think it's phase 2 or 3 in the long-range plan for now. It's 2030.
MAG also shows, future, when that is, tracks lines, light rail lines, or something with the equivalent basically going from here all the way out. This would kind of be where it comes together.
Just one more question about program. How are you guys feeling about the riders?
It's excellent. Double.
I took it today and there was not enough seats.
Really?
I took it all the way.
It's beyond expectations. We're
Is there any grant or money with UTA that could be used down here to help further your vision down here?
So what we're doing, we're contributing money with American Fork with matching funds to do
Okay.
sort of a stationary vision.
Okay. Do we get a
One of the
percentage of
unique-
that? Is that going to be divvied up amongst the class? Is that the plan?
One of the unique things about this is it's really a blank slate. A lot of our station areas are redevelopment areas,
Yeah.
which brings their own development
Yeah.
challenges. And then also, it's been visioned maybe 5 or 6 times. This is a blank slate for the
Yeah.
most part.
Okay.
And so I think it's an exciting opportunity for you guys.
Okay.
What's the max ridership you can get out of here? Sort of peak hours?
I have to look at the numbers. We run 4 trains. Let me look into that. I can send that to you. We run 4 trains, and peak hours are every 30 minutes. And then it's an hour service. No Sunday service.
When do the 30-minute tables end, and when does the 1 hour begin?
I can send you the schedule. And I'll try and put together some ridership information, parking utilization. If our last onboard survey was done in 2011, but I can share that with you, and that gives you an idea of who uses our system most frequently. But obviously that doesn't incorporate front runner salary. It's not terrible.
Question for Eric. Eric, right? Would it yield any insight to look in the planning commission meeting notes, the minutes of meetings in the past? Have there been some major discussions about this at all, or is that
Really not for this area, no. So it really is blank.
just save some time? Good. Okay, here's a question. As a city, Eric was saying that, hey, this would be a hub of Utah Valley and stuff. In your estimation, what's competing? And as far as other cities, are there other little sweet blank spots that you're working with other cities around here that, could lure potential tenants or developers to that spot rather than this one?
Lehigh seems to be having quite a boom with, especially like Class A office. And so, we noticed that. We noticed that that's kind of becoming a hub, like where Adobe is and all of that, their Thanksgiving point. There's...
Orem has some very even over here. They really want to develop around the front station. Both stations alongside of working at that. But I think they're different. They're really focusing on office. I think Orem is focused primarily on residential.
Because it's so close to you. But I've got some of these plans and some of those questions that